Keeping with our theme of the dative case, today I would like to explain a few verb and preposition combinations that use the dative case but might not make much sense to non-native German speakers. These are traditionally called verbs with fixed prepositions, but as you saw in my previous video about verbs with fixed prepositions, calling them that causes some confusion. If you haven't seen that video, I recommend that you watch that, but today's video is just focusing on the dative stuff as it relates to certain verb and preposition combinations. Some lists of verbs with fixed prepositions include dative prepositions. I find these lists mostly useless, as they simply point out that you can say things like Wir beginnen heute mit den Dative Verben. We are beginning today with the dative verbs. Obviously that's dative because mit requires the dative case all of the time. The meaning of the word mit didn't change from the usual translation of with. It's used exactly the same as it is in English. So why bother trying to memorize that this is the way that you phrase this when this is how you would have phrased it if you didn't know that this verb and preposition combination was how you were supposed to phrase it. There are a few times, however, that the dative prepositions are used with certain verbs that are not as obvious. Let's start with a few that use aus. There are two verbs traditionally listed with the preposition aus. They are bestehen aus, to consist of, and folgen aus, to result from. To me, these make sense, but some people have trouble understanding why we didn't use von here. So let's take a look at a few examples and figure out what's going on here. Bestehen aus, to consist of. Mein Tag besteht aus 2 Teilen, Essen und Schlafen. My day consists of 2 parts, eating and sleeping. The problem here is the attempt by many to translate of from the English literally into the German. This doesn't work, however, as the usual translation for of is von. So we go back to last week's video and see what the difference was between von and aus. Aus means out of or from. It's used to show that something was in something else and is now no longer. So let's try the same translation with out of instead of just of. Mein Tag besteht aus 2 Teilen, Essen und Schlafen. My day consists out of 2 parts, eating and sleeping. I think that this translation still makes a lot of sense and helps to understand why you use aus with bestehen to express to consist of. Just don't get it confused with bestehen auf, which means to insist on, and will be explained next week when we get to the words that use auf. Folgen aus, to result from. Ich habe einen dicken Bauch. Das folgt aus meiner Liebe zu Keksen. I have a fat stomach. That is a result of my love of cookies. This is another question of why not von? The answer may not satisfy you. It's essentially saying, out of this follows this result. It is within this reasoning that we can find this result, which is represented by the preposition aus. There is also folgen plus auf, which means to follow on, according to dictionaries, but to be followed by, according to anyone who has ever read a sentence with this phrase. Unfortunately, that's not on our list for today, as it uses the accusative case. There are several verbs that are often paired with by, but the logic behind them is pretty straightforward as long as you use my translation given in last week's video. It generally translates as at. This works when you use the translation of arbeiten plus by. Most dictionaries translate it as to work for, but I prefer at for consistency purposes. Remember that by expresses location and not a connection. Mit is used for connections. Here are some examples of verbs that are often used with by. Ich arbeite bei einer Firma in der Stadt. I work at or for a company in the city. Mein Bruder bedankt sich bei den Eltern seiner Freundin für das Abendessen. My brother thanks his girlfriend's parents for the dinner. Der Mann beschwert sich jeden Tag bei dem Restaurant, geht aber immer noch hin. The man complains at the restaurant every day, but still comes there. Meine Nachbarin bleibt bei ihrem untreuen Mann. My neighbor stays with her disloyal or unfaithful husband. Der Schüler entschuldigt sich bei seiner Lehrerin für seine Verspätung. The student apologizes to his teacher for his tardiness. You may notice the definition of at doesn't always work in these sentences. That's the problem with translating prepositions instead of understanding their use. By indicates a location. Sometimes this is not a literal location, but more of an abstract location where the action of the sentence takes place. This is true for sentences like bei ihrem untreuen Mann, with her unfaithful husband, or bei seiner Lehrerin, to his teacher. Next up, we have the easiest and by far the most widely used dative preposition that is often used with a bunch of different verbs, mit. I personally don't understand why some people think that these need to be classified as verbs with fixed prepositions. Mit means with. It's almost always used the same as the English. Since there are so many of these verb and preposition combinations, I won't be giving examples of them all. I'll just list them over here on screen. I will give you a few examples, however, of some of the more complicated ones. Aufhören mit, to stop with. Kannst du bitte mit dem Geheul aufhören? Can you please stop with the whining, the crying, and the screaming? Sich begnügen mit, to be content with. Der Lehrer begnügt sich mit seiner heutigen Arbeit. The teacher is content with his current work. Rechnen mit, to calculate, reckon on, or expect. Wann können wir mit dem nächsten E-Book von Herrn Antrim rechnen? When can we expect the next e-book from Herr Antrim? One that I personally struggle with is nach when it's used with certain verbs. It's almost never translated as after, to, or towards, like it normally would be. Sometimes it translates as about. For example, sich erkundigen nach, to inquire about. Ich möchte mich nach der Schokoladentorte erkundigen. Wie viel kostet sie? I would like to inquire about the chocolate cake. How much does it cost? Fragen nach, to ask about. Dieser Junge fragt in jedem Restaurant nach filet mignon. This boy always asks about filet mignon in every restaurant. Those two actually work pretty well together if you think of nach pointing in the direction that the action is traveling. Erkundigen is being pointed in the direction of the chocolate cake, and fragen is being pointed in the direction of the filet mignon. Now, apply that kind of logic to the rest of these combinations, and you should be able to figure out why they work so well together. Sich richten nach, to go by somebody or something, to comply with somebody or something. If you don't already know, the verb richten means to straighten. If you add nach, it means that you straighten something in the direction of whatever comes after nach. In other words, you are aligning yourself to that person's way of thinking. For example, die Firma richtet sich nach den Maßnahmen der Regierung. The company complies with the actions of the government. Sich sehnen nach, to yearn about, to long for somebody or something. Sehnen is a verb that means to yearn or to long for. When you add nach, it points the yearning in a direction. For example, ich sehne mich nach Eis. I yearn for or long for ice cream. Suchen nach, to search for. This one I don't think is very difficult. The main problem is that most English speakers think that it should be für instead of nach. This is where the differences between für and for come into play. The context for für is almost always the benefit of some person or something that is used after für. You can go shopping for someone, for example. Ich kaufe heute für meine Mutter ein. I am shopping for my mother today. Obviously, you aren't shopping for a mother. You know, like you don't like your mother for some reason, so you're in the market for a new one. You are shopping in your mother's stead for her benefit. The same is almost always applied to für. For this reason, we have to use nach when we indicate the direction of our search. Ich suche nach deinem Gehirn, habe es leider noch nicht gefunden. I am looking for your brain. Unfortunately, I haven't found it yet. If something smells like or tastes like something in German, we also use nach. If you think of it more figuratively, this still works for the same definition as before. It smells in the direction of eggs. It tastes in the direction of chicken. Riechen nach, to smell of. Dein Zimmer riecht nach schmutzigen Socken und alten Schuhen. Your room smells like dirty socks and old shoes. Schmecken nach, to taste of or to savor of. Diese Wurst schmeckt nach Sand. This sausage tastes like sand. Next up, we have a few verbs that are commonly used with von. Most of them are pretty straightforward. Absehnen von, to abstain from. Sich erholen von, to recover from. Erzählen von, to tell of. Profitieren von, to profit from. Träumen von, to dream of or about. Sich verabschieden von, to bid farewell to. And überzeugen von, to convince of. Those simply take the meaning of from or of, like I explained last week. There are a few, however, that take a bit more thought. Abhängen von, to depend on. Das hängt von der Laune meiner Frau ab. That depends on the mood of my wife. Von doesn't usually translate as on. This one works because you can also say this with from. If you use the literal translation of the verb hängen, to hang, then it hangs from the mood of my wife. This makes sense to my brain. Hopefully it makes sense for yours. Ausgehen von, to come from or to expect. Wir können von diesem Ereignis ausgehen, dass der Verbrecher im Gefängnis bleibt. We can expect from this incident that the criminal will stay in prison. This one isn't difficult because of the preposition von, but because we also have the prefix aus in the same sentence. Many people seem to think that these two can't be used in the same sentence. I'm not sure why, but as long as you keep in mind that one of them is a prefix and the other one is a preposition, you should be okay. Schwärmen von, to enthuse about, to have a passion for. Ich schwärme von Dinosauriern. I have a passion for dinosaurs. If you haven't been following the pattern so far, this one still goes pretty well with von, as you could simply look at the verb schwärmen, which means to enthuse or daydream, and add from. I daydream from dinosaurs. It takes a bit of a stretch of the English, but it still works. The last dative preposition on our list for today is zu. It almost always translates as to, but can occasionally be for or in. Personally, I see this one as a simple, straightforward translation. Let's see a few examples. Beitragen zu, to contribute to add something to. Alle Mitschüler müssen zur Diskussion beitragen. All classmates must contribute to the discussion. Sich eignen zu, to qualify for. Du eignest dich zu diesem Preis leider nicht. Unfortunately, you don't qualify for this prize. Wait, I have always seen sich eignen für, which makes a lot more sense to me. The word für means for, so why not just use that? You can use für with sich eignen, but it no longer means to qualify for. Now it means to be suited for. What's the difference? Sounds the same to me. If I'm qualified for a job, I am suited for it too. What if your temperament doesn't match the rest of the team? There is most definitely a difference between being qualified for something and being suited for it. Technically, I'm qualified to teach middle school, but it is in the best interest of everyone involved that I don't teach 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Ich eigne mich dazu, aber nicht dafür. I am qualified for that, but not suited. Let's try a few more examples with the preposition zu. Einladen zu, to invite to. Ich möchte deine Mutter zu einer Party einladen. Darf ich ihre Handynummer kriegen? I would like to invite your mom to a party. Can I get her number? Sich entschließen zu, to decide to. Entschließt sich dazu, ein Eis zu kaufen. He is deciding to buy an ice cream. Führen zu, to result in. Jeden Tag Eis essen führt zu dick werden. Eating ice cream every day results in or leads to getting fat. Gehören zu, to belong to. Dieser Schuh gehört zu deiner Mutter. This shoe belongs to your mother. Doesn't gehören already mean to belong to? You don't need to add zu in that sentence. You could just say, dieser Schuh gehört deiner Mutter. This shoe belongs to your mother. Yep, there's no difference between your version and my version. Gratulieren zu, to congratulate on. Ich gratuliere Ihnen zu Ihrem Geburtstag. I congratulate you on your birthday. I didn't personally understand why this one needs to use zu instead of any of the other prepositions that mean on until I started trying to plug them into the sentence and see what it does to the meaning. Ich gratuliere Ihnen an Ihrem Geburtstag. I congratulate you on your birthday. This version says it's your birthday and I'm congratulating you, but the two events are not connected to each other than that they are happening on the same day. I could be congratulating you for a promotion that you just got, but I didn't do so until it was your birthday. The point is that the preposition an in this sentence doesn't show us the reason for the congratulations, but rather the time at which the congratulating was done, namely, your birthday. Ich gratuliere Ihnen auf Ihrem Geburtstag. I congratulate you on your birthday. This version says your birthday is somehow a location, and again, it doesn't explain the reason for the congratulations. The only way that you can explain the reason for the congratulations is with the preposition zu. Neigen zu, to tend to be prone to. Dieses Auto neigt zu einer Explosion, wenn ihm hinten reingefahren wird. This car tends to explode when it is rear-ended. Zählen zu, to belong to. Deutschland zählt zu den besten Ländern der Welt. Germany belongs to, or is one of, the best countries in the world. That's my list for today. Next week I'll talk about the verbs that are commonly used with some of the two-way prepositions or Wechselpräpositionen and the dative case. If you want to practice what you've learned from this video, you can find a link in the description that will take you to my website where you can download a worksheet with an answer key to go with this lesson. Das ist alles für heute. Danke fürs Zuschauen. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss!